We'll open this session of the Pittsburgh City Commission with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Pastor Jim, our invocation for the evening. Thank you.
Let's pray together. Father God, thank you for the day that you've made, and may we rejoice and be glad in it. It'll soon be too cold for our liking, so help us to be grateful and thankful for the things that you have given today. At the same time, there are people in our city who are at work in this, and we, for their sakes, for utilities and streets and maintenance and just keeping things running for our businesses and roads, residences, we ask for your help for them in this heat. You asked us to pray for those in authority that we might live peaceable lives, and this is what we want, this is what we do just now, that we lift one another up, that we pray for even those we disagree with, that we work in tandem, and we pray for those that are at work in various ways, a lot of them unseen, that do their part to keep our city not just running, but thriving, growing, and making it a place where people are at home and can belong. So may the things that happen here be to your blessing, to our encouragement, and keep us faithful. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Pastor Jim. We'll move on to the consent agenda. We have two items that are being pulled, item E and item K. Does anyone have any other items to be pulled? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call for those items.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor by roll call vote?
Brooks.
Yes.
Height.
Yes.
McNay.
Yes.
Munsell.
Yes.
Sigley.
Yes.
All right. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to recess into executive session to discuss confidential data relating to the financial affairs of the Jolly Fox Brewery LLC pursuant to KSA 75-4319B4 for 10 minutes, with the meeting to resume in the City Commission meeting room in 10 minutes.
I'll second the motion.
Been moved and seconded to go into executive session. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Do you have to wait for Darren to sit back down? Okay.
Just a minute.
All right, concerning item E, Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to table item E.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we table item E. All in favor, say so by saying aye.
Aye.
And item K,
Move approval for item K.
Second.
been moved and seconded to approve item K. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now, we'll go back up to public input. We're gonna try to hold, because we got a lot to do tonight. You got 5 minutes in public input, and I will hold you to that. So who's first? Please state your name and your address.
My name is Dr. Lachman, and I live where I live. I live at 507 East 23rd Street, Pittsburgh, Kansas. Right? I'm here today to speak on in regards to the animal control shelter, which is run by the city. 5 months ago, a dog showed up in my neighbor's yard, and animal control came and got the dog. I went there the next day to check on the dog, and they allowed me to check on the dog. Nonetheless, in that 5 months, I have helped to build a dog run, so the dogs can get out of their concrete run and actually be outside and run. However, they use that for a week. There are some minor changes to be made, and they will get back to using it. Nonetheless, in my 5 months there, I've neutered and spayed many dogs. I have taken dogs when they said they are full and vetted them at other clinics so that they don't get euthanized in order to give the advocates time to rehome the dogs. And I have gone there every day that I'm in town and give treats to the dog. However, after doing this for 5 months, I went last Tuesday and Officer Sharon said, "You're not allowed here anymore. If you have any question, call my boss, Rebecca Lynch." So that led me here. I wanted to shed some lights on certain things that happened in that 5 months that could lead to possibly changing some policy and doing things just a little bit different. I have a handout here if you're interested in looking at it after. Nonetheless, I'll concentrate on the behavior of growling, number one. Number two is pregnancy of the dogs and the way they're being managed in the shelter. Number three, sanitation. And number four, what is the maximum capacity when they close the shelter? The capacity is 19. But I will spend most of my time on number 1 and 2. Okay, growling is a behavior that dogs do when they're scared and when they're aggressive. So the dog in my neighborhood, when I went the next day, I said, "What's going to happen to the dog? You know, I've never done this before." And she's like, "We're going to euthanize the dog. We're going to put the dog down." I'm like, "Why are you going to put the dog down?" She's like, "He's growling. Nobody can get close to the dog. The dog is aggressive." I said, I pleaded with them, "Can you please give me a few days to work with the dog, giving treats?" And the way I give treats, there's a wired fence, and you just give treats through the fence. After a few days, this dog converted to a happy puppy. They were able to take the collar off. The euthanization was canceled. Another example of growling there, while going every day to feed the dogs treats, there's a puppy, like 1-year-old puppy named Major. I went in every day, I go to the office and say, "Okay to treat," and they say, "Okay to treat." So this day was a Wednesday, and I said, "Anybody getting put down?" And they said, "Yeah, we're putting down Major." I'm like, "Why are you putting down Major? He's aggressive." I'm like, "He has never shown aggressive behavior. This is a puppy. He takes his treats, he puts it aside, and he comes back because he just wants you to talk to him." And I disagreed with them. So I called the advocate, and the advocate went, and they made an assessment that, "Oh, the dog's not aggressive. We're canceling the euthanization appointment." This was on a Wednesday, and this was a Friday. I had pleaded with them before I called the advocate, saying, "Give the dog to me. I will vet the dog somewhere else because I know this puppy is not aggressive." She said, Officer Sharon said, "No, the dog is in my custody, and I will euthanize the dog on Friday." So that's why I called the advocate. I had previously made arrangement with Girard Animal Hospital, just in case if they get full, I can pull 2 dogs and board them there till they get less crowded, just to buy the advocates time to find fosters and home. On the topic of pregnancy, turned out the dog that was in my neighborhood, 3 weeks later, we saw she was pregnant. The belly was really big. I said to Sharon, you know, I think this dog is pregnant. She's like, oh, I gotta make the appointment to put her down. I'm like, what? You put down a pregnant dog? Yeah, it's what we do. We put down pregnant dogs. What are we gonna do with them? I don't wanna deal with a dog here that's pregnant. I said, okay, I called the advocate because I didn't know what to do. The advocate arranged for a foster. And the way this went about, I pulled the dog, vetted the dog at the Mesa Animal Clinic. For 3 days, another advocate drove the dog to St. Louis, where a vet checked the dog out, and another advocate fostered the dog till the puppies are 6 to 8 weeks. And after that, they go to New Jersey to a rescue where they will find forever home. The whole country came together to help this dog. And that's a good outcome. So one day I was feeding and I said, what happened to that puppy in the run? And this puppy is number 147. I put her down. She was late term pregnant. I'm like, I was shocked because this was just 1 year, 9-month-old puppy. And so I said, did you call the advocate? She said, no, I don't have to call anybody. She denied this dog. The whole country would be willing to help. That comes together to help these dogs. Here alone in Pittsburgh City, because of the advocates, they have outreach all over the country. Because of that dog number 147 that got put down because she was late pregnant, I asked Sharon, can we, when the female dogs come in, can we get them spayed right away? Then we don't have to deal with the fact that we're putting on dogs for late-term pregnancy. It just doesn't feel right. As a human race, that we should not be there. We don't have to be there. The other option is the advocates, they find fosters and home. You didn't allow that. She did listen to me about getting the female dog spayed, and we put that in action. I said, okay, you're gonna allow us to bring them back here? You'll keep the kennel? Yeah, I'll allow it. But then she said, what about wound healing? I'm like, fine, we'll board them for 5 days after the surgery and then bring them back. We put that process in action, and then we're like, oh, can we bring them back when you're not full? I do not want those dogs back here. I don't want them back here, I want nothing to do with them. She went back on her word. Nonetheless, I wanted to shed light on that because policy does not allow, the Kansas Policy Act does not allow the disposition of an animal to be based on one person. There should be a board of directors that determines the disposition of the animal. And for the last 12 years, it has been one person, Officer Sharon Chuck. I'll hit on number 3. Number 3 is I saw a lot of buildup in fecal matter in some of the cages, not all of them. So I went to her and said, you know, those dogs are in their poop. They have piles of poop or fecal matter. And I said, how often do you wash the runs? She said, I'm only required once a day and I do it once a day.
Excuse me, I'm a little uncomfortable how we're singling out a single employee.
Yeah.
Have you talked to the city manager?
I did. I've done some events, yeah.
All right, I don't know, that just makes me uncomfortable.
Okay.
So I would,
I'd
Yeah,
like
I
to
mean,
continue.
we talked this week or the end of last week, and I've reached out to police. The dog is, the 2 employees we have that run that operation are in the police department, and their lieutenant, I think she's lieutenant, she may be even higher than that.
Rebecca Lynch,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'd prefer we aren't sitting up here calling out
Yeah,
employees
I don't-
because
I'm
it's
not comfortable with that,
She's
so
not
I
here
was
anymore,
lined up.
so.
I
If
was
you could
told
finish.
this is where I come to
No, it's
shed
my
light.
job to
No,
say
that's
whether
all.
she finishes or not.
Yeah.
Please go on, just,
Go on.
I'll give you another minute.
Okay, so the other, number 4 was, what is the capacity of the animal shelter? There'll be 10 dogs there and they'll close it. The capacity is 19. So then she sends out a mass text, dogs are in danger. animal shelter is closed. So I'm sure there's a good explanation of why they would close it when it's not even 17 or 16. Nonetheless, in the 12 years ago, they would euthanize, the main method of disposition of the dog was euthanization. The advocates came on the scene, and last year, they rehomed 300 dogs. Only 19 was euthanized. I believe that the advocates should be represented in your policy. In section 47:1710, I would like to add, I'm proposing to add that when an animal has to be, the decision has to be made whether an animal should be euthanized, it should be the officer that works there and the advocate. For example, the advocate gets to say, I have positions, I have fosters, I can take this dog away. If it's an aggressive dog, and the officer said this dog is aggressive, and the advocate says, yes, this dog is aggressive, I cannot rehome this dog, then you make the decision to euthanize if that is the outcome.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Now at 8 minutes.
Thanks, Dr.
Thank you.
This, in case you've seen me turn red, it's because I love dogs to begin with, and I don't like this policy at all of one person deciding whether to euthanize a dog or not. I think that's got to be changed in some form or other, or this officer's got to go, if that's what she insists on. We've got to be humans and take care of these animals in some form or other. If they're aggressive and they're going to bite somebody, yes, I can understand that. But otherwise, somebody's got to take hold of this problem and make it work.
Well, Henry, can we look at that ordinance?
Yeah.
We'll look at that and work with it and then bring it to us if there are changes
That
to be
sounds like a
made.
good idea, Stu.
And I appreciate Dr. Lashman's passion as well as the mayor's for taking care of animals, so, something we can look at, so.
Okay. Anyone else? Kevin?
Good evening. My name's Kevin O'Connell. I live over on North Grandin here in Pittsburgh. Kind of following up from our last meeting when we presented some remarks regarding the homeless situation that's going on in Pittsburgh. I'd like to read from some notes here to present to you guys. We've had a lot of attention that's been focused on the city government, and there are things that we need the city leadership to commit to maximum legal enforcement and rewriting some ordinances to address issues that we've seen occur in Pittsburgh that were never anticipated years ago. This is kind of an exploding problem that's going on. And we understand that the city government can't wave a magic wand and become the problem solver to everything here. And this problem wasn't created by city leaders. And they're trying to adapt to a situation that's outside of normal functions of keeping streets paved, water and sanitation working, and those kinds of things. We do also appreciate and want to express the work of the city police, fire, EMS, codes enforcement, and the rest of the city staff with the results and efforts that they've made thus far. Law enforcement is an important role. We need the city's government's help in using every legal avenue that they can to protect city residents and visitors. And this includes the police to go after minor violations that are destroying the city's livability. So we've got what looks like minor infractions out there that are being repeated over and over and over again, and we're not getting any resolution to that particular problem. We believe that the city prosecutor must aggressively push for jail time for repeat offenders. This includes not just homeless for trespassing or theft, but also the unending parade of minor crime like car break-ins that leads to a perpetual crime wave that we're seeing increasing in Pittsburgh all the time. We also need the judges in the city of Pittsburgh to realize that a soft-hearted approach to a many times repeat criminal offender just allows that person to keep affecting other people's lives. We believe that the judges must aggressively push for jail time for repeat offenders. We ask that these departments receive authorization and orders to implement these changes. We have a suggestion here. I know it's not your purview to mandate anything to the county, but as a suggestion, we also need the county sheriff to utilize the county jail to house these criminals. And if that means building a tent city to house inmate overflow and hiring more jailers to monitor the inmates, That'll be far cheaper than continuing to allow the criminals to victimize the citizens of Pittsburgh and Crawford County. Local charities also bear some responsibility here too. We need to stop offering a no questions asked free ride and begin asking where the person that they're helping came from. And if they're not from here, that person needs to be sent home if that's not Pittsburgh. Just allowing Pittsburgh to be flooded with an unending influx of nomadic homeless looking for a free ride will destroy Pittsburgh, and it won't help the homeless either. Charities like Wesley House have banned homeless who become violent and turn that person loose on the streets of Pittsburgh. We must put strict residency requirements on the people that are being served at those charities. In short, we ask that every level of government and charity realize that traditional attitudes and approaches have created a situation we're in, and we have to change in order to reverse that course. On my second page here, we've had a lot of inquiries about a petition we're circulating, and wanted to go over some salient points here for just a moment if I could. The points that we are trying to make with the petition that we'll present to the city are to develop a legal strategy for returning persons from other areas to their hometowns when they request it or when they commit crimes upon release from jail or when arraigned in lieu of appearance or fines, as one example. Pittsburgh can't be the homeless hub of the Midwest. We'd like to modify ordinances with the help and input of concerned citizens group leaders to ensure everyone involved is held accountable. I received an email asking for the Citizens Advisory Council, and I think it's a great idea that we be able to have some input on some of the ordinances that are being considered here. We'd like to restrict overnight stays to approved areas with only limited exceptions made for private property camping. Father and son or father-daughter want to camp out in the backyard overnight, that shouldn't be a problem. Excessive stays is where we're concerned about people having long-term residency on camping out. One of the other methods for controlling what's going on is we believe that holding property owners accountable for the sanitary conditions, human habitability, and the tenant rights when their property is used with their permission. So if there's nobody there to say that this kind of camping and stuff goes on, then we need to be contacting the owners and holding them responsible for what goes on their properties. We would like to modify or create public nuisance laws that protect the rights of the citizens of Pittsburgh to move around the city without worry of being accosted. We're hearing reports of people in parks and public spaces being approached for money. We're hearing of children being approached out in public parks. And we need to have some control about what's going on in those public spaces. We need to ensure that law enforcement is empowered and supported by every level of the government up to and including prosecutorial staff to fully enforce the statutes or ordinances. All efforts to address the homeless issue should be done from the viewpoint of getting help for those who want it and encouraging those who do not want help to either change their decision about help or go elsewhere. Lastly, a perpetual handout that only allows a continued existence with no change is not charity, but cruelty. We, the citizens of Pittsburgh, do not support the creation of services with no track record of success and encourage the city government to discourage such actions through zoning changes and ordinances as needed. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
I'm Gail Dethridge. I am a member of the First United Methodist Church, and Wesley House started out as a mission outreach church as a part of our church. And over the years, many, many years now, it has turned into a full-time social service agency. And we now are in collaboration with Community Health. They provide free of charge all of the management of Wesley House. We still own it. We still have 4 full-time employees that we pay. But they have all kinds of community health workers there that provide mental health services, that provide physical health services. And in the future, we are going to also have some education programs. That's coming up. Our mission to begin with was to be the food pantry of Pittsburgh, and that we still are. So far this year, we've served over 3,000 adults and 1,500 children. Our goal there is to help the working poor, which we do quite adequately. Now, in the last several years, we've turned into more than that. We have several guests that are homeless. And in order to participate in our program, you have to register. You have to fill out forms. I mean, our state requires that, and the money that we get for this requires that. So all of our homeless are registered. We have 75 on our rolls right now. And I asked the administration over there, now what percentage of those do you think are from out of town? And Leah said a maximum of 30%. So 30% is 75. We've got 21 people out of 20,000 in Pittsburgh that have come from out of city. Last winter, we were able to house whatever the city number that they gave a top limit that we couldn't go beyond, which was very helpful for us to be able to house many of the homeless so they didn't freeze. We had $50,000 that we wrote for a grant that we were going to redo our kitchen, and our kitchen is in sad state of affairs. But we decided that we would put that money to hiring personnel to take care of the homeless when they're there all night. And then a real exciting thing happened about what a cool community that we live in. Within 1 month, this community raised $39,000 to help us take care of the homeless during the winter. And it cost Wesley House between $90,000 and $100,000. And this community supported that. Now, our homeless, we feed them breakfast, we feed them lunch. We provide showers for them, so they get daily showers. We supply all the shampoos, the combs, the towels, etc. We have a big washer and dryer. They can do their laundry there. What we can't provide for them is we give them a safe space in the day. We can't give them a safe space at night. And we have met with the city on 2 different occasions for 2 hours each, all of us together trying to find a solution to this problem for the nighttime. And so far, long term, I think we can come up with a pretty good solution, but short term, we haven't come up because of all the ordinances. And I'm not knocking the ordinance, I'm just saying it makes it difficult to find a safe space for them. Now, yes, we can go ahead and if somebody's camped out in the parking lot here, we can go ahead and arrest them and we can put them in jail for the night. That'll give them a bed at least and a shower and food. And then the next day, when they go to court and they have to pay X number of dollars, they have no money. So, and then they're going to be back on the streets again. So what we're trying to do, and we're certainly open to suggestions from this community to help us with the short-term problem. Thank you very much.
Thank
Ron,
you.
Did you? Oh, I thought you had a question.
Mine will just be a quick, lighter note. My name's Renato. I live at 513 Norris Drive. I'm the turkey trot guy. I wasn't planning on coming, but Chuck, you brought it up last time, so I kind of wanted to just mention on it. Since last time you guys mentioned it, I met with Kim, Christy, and Chris, and then everybody else that was involved has been pretty helpful with it. We kind of compromised and came up with a route that is going to be going kind of through Pine Street as opposed to what we were planning on doing Broadway. What I mentioned to them, like I said, I'm okay with the route. I still kind of want to have it on Broadway. Obviously, this year is probably not going to happen. I want to focus on other aspects of the event. I just kind of wanted to let it be known that my plan is to still have it on Broadway come next year. So that's 15 months in advance that we can hopefully come with a solution that we can make work. Like I said, I've spoken to a lot of people in the city, and like my thing is, and you brought it up, Ron, is we don't want people to work on Thanksgiving, which I don't either. So that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out is how we make that happen. Like we've already talked about, they set out the barricades, which they have to set out anyways for the Christmas parade that coming Monday. So they can just leave them out over the weekend or whatever that looks like. I just kind of wanted to just let that be known.
So Ronaldo, where's your route now? Where's your route?
So it starts, we're gonna be using the city lot 1 over kind of behind Fifth Street, Bar and Grill. It's gonna be, that way we don't have to block any roads really for an extended amount of time. And then we just head out on Pine, go up north, up to 15th, around kind of that curve by the YMCA, work our way down, cross 4th Street. So it's still a pretty, like, it'll be a good route, and we'll just kind of come back around. And like I said, I think it'll work out. Just the main thing, like I said, I'm gonna keep pushing for it to be on Broadway. So that's, we'll figure it out. I just kind of want to just.
Yeah, Ronaldo is, I know we're not supposed to speak during public input, but very open-minded and obviously probably what's made him successful. He's got a goal and he's not going to give up on it, but he's been willing to work with us this year. And we do have 15 months, so let's figure it out. But I bet he can run like the wind because he's very diligent, and when he gets his mind set, he's ready to go. So thanks for all your work and patience with us, Ronaldo.
Yeah, sure. But yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you.
Any other public input? Seeing none, we'll move on to special presentations. Summer reading program, Pittsburgh Public Library Director Bev Carlson will provide a summary of the summer reading program.
Mayor, City Commissioners, thank you for your time this evening. I'm Bev Clarkson, Director of the Pittsburgh Public Library. Before I discuss the summer reading programs, I'd like to briefly tell you about a new service where we've begun offering at the library this summer. We are happy to announce that we are offering the Libby app to our patrons. With Libby, you can access tens of thousands of free ebooks and digital audiobooks with your library card and a PIN number. It's a reading app that you can use on your phone, your tablet, your desktop. It even works with Kindles. Our library has joined the Sunflower Consortium, which is a group of Kansas libraries that have joined together to pool our resources, and this allows us to offer a much larger selection of digital resources to our community. And for more information, you can visit our website, pplonline.org. You can give us a call, or you can stop by the library, and we'd be happy to help you. We want as many people as possible to benefit from this new service. And now I'll talk about our summer reading programs. Because you know summer is our favorite time of year at the library. We're really busy, but it's also a lot of fun. The national theme for the summer reading programs this year was All Together Now, and celebrated friendship and kindness and community. And we kicked off our programs with a community block party on June 1st, and we had music and food and games, and we offered signups to our summer reading program, a book walk, a community art project, teen chalk art, a face painter, and we even had the SEK princesses do the chicken dance. Everything was free, and we had between 600 and 700 community members attend the event. I'm also happy to report that 786 kids and teens participated in our reading program at the library, and they earned a total of 2,508 prizes. And these are swim passes to the Aquatic Center and prizes from our prize hut. And they read a total of 18,618 books during June and July. Our Storytime programs are early literacy programs designed for kids 6 and under, but really all ages enjoy story times. And we offered them on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. They were in the park, in Lincoln Park, in June, and at the library in July when it got too hot. And we had, for the first time, we had summer school classes bus kids into the park, and we often had 250 participants at each program in the park. It was wild. Our story times programs featured a different continent each week that the kids learned about, and they included stories and skits and puppet shows and songs, a scavenger hunt. We did animal yoga. We had our annual homemade ice cream party. It was a lot of fun. Storytime kids also took home a specially themed craft project each week. The library produced and handed out over 2,400 crafts this summer just for Storytime alone. We also offered programs for kids aged 7 to 11 on Thursdays in June, and we had programs on beekeeping, we painted kindness rocks, we did a Van Gogh collaborative art project, and our favorite, the Nutty Professor Science program. Greenbush came to the library in July for kids in the 3rd through 6th grades and offered science-themed programs as well. Teen programs were held each week at Root Coffee House in June, and we're thankful to Root for collaborating with us. And then they moved back to the library in July, and teens did meme bingo, trivia, game nights, movies, and ended with a Good Vibes dance party. Teen volunteers met on Tuesdays each week, and 32 teens donated 217 hours of service to the library. We offered Maker Monday programs for kids ages 10 through 18, and they met each week for an open house art project. And we were happy to partner with K-State Extension for a junior chef program on Wednesdays. We didn't forget the adults. They had their own summer reading program using the All Together Now theme, and they had craft programs, book discussions, an open mic night, and even a community sing-along program, which proved to be very popular. Overall, the library offered 109 free programs in June and July, with 7,773 community members attending an in-person library program. You know, I really want to sincerely thank our community partners, especially the City of Pittsburgh and the Parks and Recreation Department. They donated the swim passes as reading incentives, and they shared the parks with us and Memorial Auditorium. And as always, I want to say a tremendous thank you to our Friends of the Library group. They are volunteers, and the Friends group pays for nearly all of our summer programs through proceeds from their book sales. They make a tremendous difference to our library and what we can offer the community. And just as a reminder, the Friends will host their Labor Day book sale this Saturday, September 2nd from 8 a.m. to noon. It will be held outdoors in the library courtyard, and we have tons, literally tons of books for sale, and most go for 50 cents or $1, and it goes to a good cause. Finally, I would like to thank the Pittsburgh community, all the parents and the grandparents and the teachers and the child care providers for bringing their kids to the library. You know, we have tremendous support from our community, and we are very appreciative and thankful for it. And words can't tell the whole story, so as we do each year, we took a little piece of video from some of our programs, and I put them all together. So I'm going to show you our summer reading video in 4.5 minutes, and I thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bev.
Good job.
Considering that 1 out of 3 children in this country on the 3rd and 4th grade level cannot read at all, we're very fortunate to have a program like this in the city of Pittsburgh. And we thank all those folks with all the energy and time. Item B is Economic Development Quarterly Report.
We are
Yeah, follow that.
thinking maybe we should have done a video with some cute kids. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the commission. That's a tough act to follow, but Daryl and I will try, and we'll keep it brief because we know we have a full agenda tonight. Just here to bring you up to speed on local economic development efforts. First of all, some numbers that we always begin with that are indicative of our economic health. The unemployment rate, you can see we're still at historic lows. It wasn't that long ago that we were at 2%. We're back up to the mid-3s, but this is still considered full employment, and again, really has been hovered around this rate for about the last 3 years or so. So good for the employees of our community, can be a challenge for our employers in finding employees, but again, it's a good time to be an employee in our community. Wanted to bring you the median wage numbers. You'll remember about this time last year, we presented numbers that between 21 and 22, the median wage had increased 22.5%. Didn't increase that much between 22 and 23. It was 1.5%. But obviously, the fact that the median wage has increased 24% over the last 3 years, and you can see now that the median wage is over $36.5. We still have some work to do, obviously, but I think it's time to celebrate that because we're all working together, as you are, and partners throughout the community in raising the standard of living for everybody in our community. So wanted to share that news with you.
Great, all right, thanks, Blake. We're gonna talk about the Small Business Development Center. I think everybody realizes that that's located down at the Foundry inside Block 22. It's part of Enterprise PSU. The Small Business Development Center is the little place where you go when you're trying to start a new business or grow a business or possibly even sell a business. They help assist with cash flow projections, business planning, and such activities. Just wanted to bring you up to speed for the numbers for Pittsburgh specific so far for this year. We've worked with 54 different clients here in Pittsburgh. It's generated over 180 hours of actual client time of consulting with them. It's had $125,000 of capital infusion, and it's resulted in 6 new businesses so far for the year.
And Daisha Clark, obviously, at the Small Business Development Center, does an incredible job. We send a lot of people there that have a good idea, maybe need some help in fleshing out a business plan, but she does a great job. Some activity in our program of work that you charge us with on the chamber side includes an aggressive business retention and expansion program. Over the last quarter, we've conducted 18 on-site visits, and from that, we've unearthed 3 likely expansions that one will hopefully occur, actually will begin this calendar year. I hope to be able to bring you an incentive recommendation on that after we have a chance to pitch that to the Economic Development Advisory Committee, and then the other 2 would most likely be 2024. Over the last quarter, really over the summer, 5 projects that we presented to the EDAC, and then 4 of those we presented to you. One of them stepped back, but I think that they are going to re-engage, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that request to you. But it's been a busy quarter in terms of our business retention and expansion visits.
Okay, I think everyone in the community's probably heard about the Gorilla Rising project. We're continuing to work on that. Funding is still in development. They're starting to work with the design team and planners, and that activity continues, and potentially going to be located at the corner of 5th and Broadway.
Exciting. Something that we created back in June is, with workforce being such a big topic right now, we created a roundtable of our local HR professionals. This is actually something we started kind of during the pandemic because our HR directors were really on the front lines of trying to decide exactly how to handle everybody that was concerned about the pandemic. And so we've started these every other month, HR roundtables. The city's HR team is a part of this, but it's just an opportunity for the HR directors from our employers to idea share, make sure that everybody is being consistent. One item that came up in the last meeting was getting creative with shifts to try to attract as many people into the workforce as possible. Leisure Time has actually introduced a new weekend shift where you can work 10 hours on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. You work 30 hours, they'll pay you for 40. And so those are the kind of ideas that our manufacturing HR directors are able to kind of share with each other, and I think they appreciate the opportunity to get to network with each other. Something else, knowing health insurance was a big issue for a lot of our small and mid-sized businesses. We went in along with more than 50 of our sister chambers of commerce around the state and created an association health plan that would allow a small business here in Pittsburgh that maybe has 3 employees. Previously, they were limited to a pool of 3, and their health insurance rates were extremely expensive. Now they can join a pool of several thousand employees. This actually took legislation to create, because the realtors can have their own plan, the bankers can have their own plan, but chambers represent so many different kinds of businesses that legislation had to be passed to make this possible. So in the first year, over 3,000 lives across the state were insured that hadn't been previously due to this health insurance plan, including about 204 in our area. The interest survey for this next year just closed, and we're looking forward to growing that even more. But obviously, if we can expand the number of people and employees and businesses that are able to offer health insurance in our area, that's something that we're proud to be a part of.
Great. I wanted to bring to you an update for the National Institute for Materials Advancement, otherwise known as NEMA, located at the Tyler Research Center. In the last several weeks, we've hosted at least 4 different potential design firms where we're working on our new prove-out facility that I mentioned last quarter. That prove-out facility is going to be located adjacent, right next to the Tyler Research Center. Today in Topeka, they actually interviewed the official companies that'll be presenting to be used as a consulting and design firm, so we'll be announcing that very soon on who's picked. We're still looking at, that project is now fully funded, so we're moving forward with the process of getting that into the design team. Another project is we're partnering with a heavy equipment manufacturer on an electrification process. Basically, what that does is it's replacing combustible engines more with electric type power. And so we're working with a partner there on bringing a project into the area right now. We've secured 2 new additional PhD researchers, and they'll both be starting at NEMA in the middle of September. And that's really exciting as we expand the team there and bring on new technologies. And then probably one of the more exciting things is the now confirmed over 50 students that's working in that facility in the research team. So Dr. Ram Gupta, who has come here before, has really worked diligently to build his team. And if you can recall, within just a couple of years ago, we only had 20 students there working in that facility, and now it is confirmed it's over 50, and they're actually doing real live work on contracted research, which really is pretty cool to be able to as a young student building your credentials, to be able to say that you've worked on work that actually really means something in the industry. So that's taken place. Matter of fact, we're out of space for students, and we had to take part of our back of the building and repurpose that for more student study locations. So it's pretty exciting. Recently, we've been meeting with the EDA, and we're working on more funding opportunities, EDA being Economic Development Association. And we've worked on a recompete grant program that has funding potential up to $30 million. We're also working with the K-State Extensions to work on a new bale technology, and that's going to have a proposal going to the USDA for funding. And that, again, would provide another manufacturing opportunity for the area. The EDA Tech Hub collaboration, we've been working with the Kansas Department of Commerce along with Wichita State, KU, K-State, along with PSU. What that would do is launch a state level office to develop and create new technologies by region. So as we see all of the new advanced manufacturing stuff that's popping up and we're trying to grow in the state, we'll be specifically targeting a pocket of that right here in southeast Kansas. And then finally, with the EDA University Centers, we have a workforce development grant to focus on bringing emerging technology certificates program to the area. So not necessarily a college credit opportunity, but more to develop certificates to bring more people into the workforce.
Appreciate it. Something that we're coordinating on the chamber side is a local observance of National Manufacturing Day. If you think about it, most of our manufacturers are in manufacturing or industrial parks. Our industrial parks are kind of on the edge of town, and unless you are specifically going to a business, I think a lot of our residents don't even know the number of manufacturers that we have here. That then creates issues for the manufacturers in trying to attract workforce. So National Manufacturing Day is Friday, October 6th. So we'll be working with our manufacturers to open up their doors for community members, for school groups to be able to go tour our manufacturers and be more familiar with them, and obviously with the school-age children, show them the opportunities that are present in our local manufacturing sector as they go through their school journey. But mark your calendar for Friday, October 6th. They're excited about that. And finally, this is, I believe we're in our 10th year of the Pittsburgh Economic Outlook Conference. This is actually coordinated by Wichita State and their School of Business. They work very closely with the Kels College of Business here at Pittsburgh State. Lots of great information. It'll be at the Overman Student Center on the campus of PSU. There will be an outlook on the local economy, the state economy, the national economy, the housing economy, and it's real data. So it's very beneficial, and would encourage anybody that would like to attend to Google that. It's easy to find information on it and to buy tickets in advance. So with that, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the time, and we'd be happy to answer any questions any of you may have.
I guess this isn't necessarily a question, not even directed to you, probably to the city manager. I know that in the past, when we've had major activity downtown, we've done parking studies. which I would anticipate it will be a topic on people's tongues with Guerrilla Rising. I guess I would, kind of follow up on a recommendation that's been made to do a broader scope of downtown and do a master site plan, so that we, in anticipation of, things attracting other things, that we're ahead of it instead of behind it. So I don't know, I know you guys have talked about that a little bit, and there is some cost incurred, but I think it's time that we really take a broad view of downtown and what it is, what it can be, and what it should be, so.
Yeah, we'd be happy to. I think the City Planning Commission has been juggling that idea, and I think the idea is probably larger than even downtown with the Monty Industrial Park and some of the other assets. We'll probably, it's not insignificant amount of money, and I think their next meeting, I've got a meeting to talk with a couple of their members, but I think that's probably inevitable that by the end of the year, we'll probably come to you and ask you what scope would you want that to be and how much money are you willing to spend? Because obviously it'll be expensive, but we're all at the mercy of our planning, and if we're not doing good planning. But downtown is maybe the immediate attention grabber with Guerrilla Rising coming, I think. But overall, whether it's parking, whether it's diagonal parking, whether it's one-way streets, there's obviously an opportunity to improve the way people can move through Pittsburgh, and then where things, overall zoning, I think, is another thing that we really need to look at with regards to the current zoning we have. Is a lot of it was set in the 60s and 70s, and maybe we need to consider some of that. So we are looking at it, but I would expect us to bring you something before the end of the year, when we can figure out some idea of what kind of scope we would want to do,
Thank you.
if you're amenable to that.
Thank you again.
Thank you. East Quincy Reconstruction Project update, Director of Public Works and Utilities, Matt Bacon, will give us an update.
Good evening, Mayor and Commissioners. So like a good novel, we'll talk about the ongoing Quincy project. We are, so we're just over a year into construction. If you remember kind of when we kicked that off, it's a $5.4 million construction project just to Amino. A year ago when we kicked it off, we started with replacing the 50-year-old 24-inch water main, which shutting that down caused some more issues, and that kind of kicked off a delay right out of the gate. Contractors, like everybody, had some staffing. We've had some weather events that have happened at bad timing for them. We have a railroad crossing, and then obviously keeping everyone in services along the way. However, the good parts about this project, $25 feet of curb left that they're kind of working through right now. So moving forward to get this thing wrapped up, it was a 3-day working contract. They have 112 working days remaining. They continue to do the storm box tie-ins. Currently, right now, the projected schedule, as you can see through the photo, I don't know if I have a mouse here. You can see the tops of the current boxes that are all set. They've taken the trees out, all that work. And you can only, there's certain certain parts of this work that just has to progress in succession. But right now, the contractor is looking to begin the week of 9/11 on the actual pavement removal and grading operation from the Pittsburgh Nazarene Church onto the west to the Joplin Tie-in. Following that, they're looking at the first week of October to put the paving down. Through there, it's probably 2 days per direction, with about a 4-day cure time in between. And the goal right now is to have it open to traffic the first week in November. So they're on a push to really get this thing done. It looks like it's stagnant. They have had a little bit of problem with their concrete crews. They'll admit that. Just trying to balance some workload like everyone, but the project has been progressing. We're moving on, and that's our goal right now, to get this wrapped up. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
I have one. What was you talking about, the rail crossing? What's those strips on each side there?
So to set up the potential, if the city of Pittsburgh were ever to move forward with a silent crossing, they're basically a curb. On a silent crossing, you can't, as a vehicle approaches, they basically set up a curb so that they can't drive around the barricades.
Gotcha.
So that's what those are.
Thanks.
If we decided to do all of the crossings, silent crossings, is there an estimated amount to the city that would cost?
There's been some discussions in the past, but really it just have to be set down in railroad discussion and negotiations.
Would it be the same thing as this, or would it be just two crossing arms on each side?
Most of them require some kind of barricading.
Would they be
They keep
curbs?
you from driving around
Okay.
the drop-down arms.
Okay, thank you, Matt.
Matt, are we on budget?
Yes.
Always gotta ask that one.
Yeah. There's some parts of line items within the budget that are just a unit cost bid because you just have to use what you have to use.
touch on briefly the history of our company. Company started in 2017, and this was our founder and CEO and his neighbors were actually the victims of crimes in their neighborhood. So home invasions, car break-ins. What they did have was video evidence that they were able to bring to police, and this is in Atlanta, which is where our company is headquartered. But the feedback that they received from the police there were, this is great, but what we really need is a license plate to be able to catch the criminals who are doing this. And so that's when our founder set out to really build a product that's effective, affordable, and something that protects privacy. So the current reality, I think, is something that we're all aware of. There's definitely limited police resources here and all over the country, yet crime is on the rise. So this is something that acts as a technology, as a force multiplier, and not intended in any way to replace the good police work. That is still absolutely necessary, but this is just something to build on that and help in solving crimes. So I want to spend a few minutes on how the technology works. What you're seeing on the screen right now is what you might see, a similar shot on the back of from a flock camera. So what this is, you're seeing the make and model of the vehicle. You are seeing the license plate, the color of the vehicle. What you're not seeing is anybody who's driving that vehicle or any of the occupants of the car. So that's not something that the camera picks up. And as you can see, it's infrastructure free. The coverage is 24/7. There's an infrared technology that will pick up license plates even at night. You're getting real-time alerts, and they're also ethically made, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. So I told you a little bit about what the technology is. I want to spend some time on what the technology is not, because I think that's equally as important. So this is not facial recognition. There's no personally identifiable information contained in any of the flock photographs coming from the license plate readers. Not used for traffic enforcement, and unless it's a photograph that is used specifically by police for investigation into a crime, it's stored on the cloud and deleted automatically after a 30-day period. The technology works to deter and eliminate crime in a few different ways. The proactive piece, for example, if a stolen vehicle is driving through your city, somebody's driving that vehicle, you can kind of intercept that, and police will be able to stop that vehicle before more crimes are committed in your city. Also as an investigative tool and as a deterrent, the cameras themselves serving as a deterrent. So I want to talk through a few of the ways that flock cameras protect privacy. So the footage is strictly owned by the agency. So the police department will own all of the footage. It's a software as a service model, so it would be something that the data or the software is owned, but the cameras are leased. And as I had mentioned, the 30-day retention period and then deleted, we use the Amazon Web Services Cloud. Also, a search reason is required for an audit trail. And what that means is the police department, the chief can decide this is who within the department we want to have access to this system, and there are varying administrative accesses in different levels. So that everything is picked up. So every search in the system is picked up. And you can't just go in and say, you know what, I think I want to search for every red car that passed by a very specific camera. It has to be tied to a case number, it has to be tied to a crime. And as I mentioned, there's no personally identifiable information contained in the system, and also not connected to any car registration, DMV, any third-party databases or anything of that sort. I wanted to share something that we offer that is unique in accountability and also in being transparent about how the system is used. So this is our transparency portal, and basically what this is, I know it's a little small up there, but I can tell you what is contained in that. It's something that's customizable for each agency, and you can put your policy on there, you can include data, of which cities are being shared with, which cities are sharing data with, as well as you can really drill down on the searches. So you can show exactly how many searches have happened during a certain period of time, and you can pull up this information at any time. And this is something that the police department or city can attach to the website, it can attach to social media, and just have for extra accountability in being transparent on how this is used. I want to close on a few examples. This is out of Wichita, just to show you some of the different ways that Flock is used. This is a 30-day return on investment with the cameras. You can see some of the data there, and that 2022 up there is actually supposed to be 2020, so apologies for that. But from when the first camera was installed all the way until, they followed it through a couple of months there, so you can see some of the data there. And then I wanted to show, this is just one of the ways that Flock can be used. This is something out of Kirkwood, Missouri. This is, police received a Flock alert from a camera on a stolen vehicle in the parking lot. And this vehicle was, had been wanted in relation to a theft from the store. Police were able to find the suspect within the store and arrest that suspect there. And were able to track that person down through the use of the camera. And there's the photo there. So this is one I just wanted to sell a little bit further away, as is out in California, but I wanted to highlight this example because it really speaks to the preventative nature of some of the crimes that can be solved using Flock technology. So some armed suspects run into a jewelry store, and the jewelry store owner is able to chase them off. But there was concern by the police there that the suspects would come back and perhaps escalate their violence. So they put their vehicle, they got a vehicle description and put that on a custom hot list. And so that in fact did happen, and the suspects were stopped in the parking lot because they were on that hot list and they showed up on a camera. And so it stopped another potential violent robbery attempt there. And then one of the things that Flock is used very often for actually is silver alerts, so missing elderly people, as well as amber alerts. And this is an example of a silver alert out of Akron, Ohio. This is a 73-year-old woman who was reported missing by her family. She was actually found 500 miles away from her home because it was called in, and she was thankfully reunited with her family. But that's because her vehicle was called in, put on an alert, and popped up on one of the cameras. And then I'll end on this one. This is actually an Amber Alert. This is out of Chamblee, Georgia, which is a suburb of Atlanta. This mother was pushing her baby down the street in her neighborhood, just going for a walk, when she was approached by two masked and armed suspects who grabbed her child and ran off and put the child in the vehicle and drove away. She was not able to get the license plate, but what she was able to get was the vehicle description and the color of the vehicle. So they were able to put that on in a custom hot list. And the suspect vehicle was located, thankfully, it was about 5.5 hours away, a state away in Alabama. So thankfully, the child was reunited with his mother, and we have a happy ending there. So that's just some of the different examples that Flock can be used for. And I'm happy to answer any questions if anybody has any.
What's the supply backlog with cameras? I mean, if we approve this implementation, what do you expect it to be?
As far as installation, it's about 3 to 5 months right now, so getting better.
Getting the supply chain
Yeah.
issues? Okay.
So you were saying these cameras, the police will get an alert from you guys that there's a possible stolen vehicle, and that's the only time the camera will be on, or will be on continuously?
So that's a great question. So the alert will actually come from either the police department can create their own hot list of wanted vehicles, or it will automatically come from the National Crime Information Center. So that will trigger the alert. But the cameras are on all the time. But what happens with the photographs, they're just still photographs. And what happens with those is they'll go up into the cloud and they'll be stored for the 30-day period unless there's something that's used as part of a criminal investigation. So the only ones that are used are the ones.
So they're on all the time, so the police doesn't have to push a button?
Correct. Yep, they're on all the time. And any issues with malfunction, or if the camera's not working, we will be notified and we'll be able to send somebody out to assess the situation, fix the camera within about a 72-hour period.
So I didn't see anywhere in here, and I might have missed it, the location of the cameras for us. Is there a philosophy or best practice in terms of locating the cameras throughout your community?
So we do have a team that works with police departments all over the country to identify the best locations. A lot of them are retired law enforcement officers themselves. And so, but I will defer to Major Henderson on exactly where those locations would be.
We're going to try to go put them at obviously the busier intersections, the busier locations in town. We have spoken with the Flock representative from Wichita who came through and gave like an on-site analysis of where they recommended cameras go.
So they're not in cars, then they're not on the person?
No, they're not mobile. No, they're fixed.
It's a game changer.
Yes.
It is. It really is. We could have used them this weekend, unfortunately.
So are they mobile? I mean, if there's an area of town, I know you say you got them on the intersection, but if there's an area of town that is a high crime area, can they both be mounted in that area for a period of time, or?
I believe they offer like a mobile solution with the trailer, but these are going to be permanently fixed essentially.
And I don't see in the agenda the total cost that you're asking us to approve.
It's going to be, for the first year, it's going to be $42,000 for the cameras, plus an additional $2,100 for a one-time mounting. And then the follow-up year for the second year to be an additional $42,000.
And then after that?
After that, we'll reevaluate.
I move to approve, I'm sorry, Don.
That's all right, I was
unless
just
you
gonna say, I assume during that 2-year period, if we find we want more, that's not an issue.
Are we
Dip-
able to-
Dipping the toe in before we jump, so to speak, so.
But we're able to add cameras.
To the system we're purchasing?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Are there other flock systems nearby? Or is this,
There are, I believe it's 50 some odd in Missouri, 80 some odd in Kansas, or I may have that reversed. Yeah, there are cameras in all 4 states, Missouri, Arkansas, Kansas, and Oklahoma. We are tying into a much, much larger network as well as nationwide.
thanks.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the flock camera group for 14 of the Flock Safety Falcon license plate recognition cameras and access to the network operating system. All in favor by saying aye?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is ordinance number G1350. Consider approval of ordinance number G1350, amending sections 46-81 and 46-83 of the Pittsburgh City Code to include tents, tarps, and blankets of any other material being used as a shelter to camp or occupy outside of an approved structure for habitation to the definition of recreational equipment.
Mayor, Commissioners, just bringing that back before you from the July 25th meeting, did make a change that would allow a tent to be occupied for sleeping purposes only for no more than 24 hours in a 3-month period, only in the rear yard of any private property with prior permission of the property owner or tenant, and without any form of compensation or remuneration for no more than 4 times per calendar year. We made that change and then also added Section 3, violation of this ordinance is a Class C misdemeanor and subject to the penalties as set forth in Section 1-7 of the Pittsburgh City Code. Other than that, it's the same, and it was just overall just a more specific description of recreational equipment and adding tents, tarps, blankets, and any other material being used as shelter that could be unsafe or unsanitary.
So what is the misdemeanor? If somebody is in violation of this, what happens?
It can be up to 30 days in jail or a fine of $500.
And,
Or
you know,
both.
we listened earlier to some citizen group, and they talked about, you know, maybe redoing some of our ordinances, make them more, you know, difficult. How do I want to say it? Make them more, have some little more bite in it. So this kind of goes along with what they're asking, this ordinance on living under a tarp.
So, and I mentioned this in the July 25th meeting, but the original ordinance was from 1988. It did use the term recreational equipment, so this was adding a more descriptive term, but this is also the same punishment that could be given from the original ordinance, so that didn't necessarily change. We just outlined it in your amendment. But yes.
That brings me to, my question was, if somebody's living under a tarp between shopping carts, and somebody reports that, they're arrested and taken to jail?
No, so a codes enforcement officer would have to assess the situation. If they're in a tent or any unapproved structure, and they don't have permission from the property owner of the property they're on, then yes, they would have to take it down and be moved along. If they don't take it down.
Warning to move somewhere else in the community. So that's the issue.
Roadway or sidewalk, if they're on a roadway or sidewalk, does that?
Anywhere within the city limits of Pittsburgh can't be occupying a tent or tarp or blanket or.
They just, we're telling them to move along somewhere else in the city.
Well, if they're trespassing, they're gonna
They'll cite them.
Right, yeah, but
Yeah.
the punishment is not up to the city. The punishment or the sentence or what happens upon that is the prosecutor and the judge.
Yeah,
And that is not within our control.
well, Darren controls the judge.
No, he does
He
not.
appoints the judge.
He's the prosecutor.
Well, I definitely don't want him to think I control it. Yeah, I do have the luxury of having appointed the judge, but I haven't done that. We've got the judge and the prosecutor that were here when I got here, but yes, that is. I think to Kim's, everybody I think should understand, there's a lot of discretion by the officers, whether they're code enforcement or they're police officers. The general concept is to get people to comply with the law. Whether they cite them, whether they arrest them, they have the discretion on a case by case to make that call. And then obviously, when they go into the court system, to your point, both your points, it's up to the prosecutor and the city judge.
And if they're a repeat offender, I mean, we're sending the police and they're doing a great job. Fire goes down there, Parks and Rec, all these people that, the taxpaying citizens of Pittsburgh support, and we all do. But if you're homeless and we tell you to move along, and you move along, and then we have to send a police officer down there, and what happens if they do it again and over and over and over? What's the outcome? What are we trying to solve here? Just move them somewhere else? And I understand we need to be compassionate, and I am. But we have to be compassionate in the neighborhoods that they're at. People are paying taxes. You know, we heard earlier about Wesley House and being a safe place for the homeless to go to. But it's not a safe place because things are happening there. I've had people call me, email me with different things that's happening in the neighborhood that's not safe for the homeowners. We're worried about safety for homeless, which we should. We should, if there's somebody that's creating a problem and they're threatening other people, homeless, property owners, what? I just don't think that, you know, to me, we tell them to move along somewhere else. What, you know, what's the consequences for them not to be able to be law-abiding citizens, the way I look at it?
Well, if they have no home, if they have no place to go.
Where are they gonna go?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
And I just want to, we are painting all homeless in our community as Wesley House clients. And that is not true.
I didn't say that.
I'm just saying in general, but that's all the language has been, Wesley House, Community House, Wesley House. Not all homeless are Wesley House clients. So I just want to make sure that that's very clear.
Well, I
So-
understand what you're saying, Dawn, and I never said that, but.
I'm not saying you did, I'm just saying that
Right.
that's the rhetoric that's
But
out there.
you got to feel for the people that live in the neighborhood.
Well, sure you do.
Where
And this,
these facilities
Yeah.
are located.
yes, and
They want answers, they want something to happen because, you know, they live there and, you know, what's to say that the people that live there are working and they're struggling, but they have a home, they have a job, and they're just a little bit above being homeless.
so do you have any solutions for the homeless? What would you like to see from us? What would you like to see from the city or Wesley House or Community Health?
Well, here's one thing. I think we need to be compassionate with the homeless.
Okay, you
If
said
they
that.
need help, let's help them. If those, and we heard it earlier, if those that refuse help, then there's nothing we can do for them. But do they need to be in our neighborhoods that threatening homeowners? Here's another thing that I have compassion for. The city, when Lord's Diner first opened, the city and the taxpayers contributed to the startup costs of that. And I'm wondering, and you say Wesley House, and they feed them breakfast and lunch?
They feed the individuals who are enrolled in our programs. That's the other.
Breakfast and lunch?
Right, that's the other.
Inside the facility?
That is correct.
Okay, here's my issue, then, am I wrong? Is it the Lord's Diner that comes there with a food truck?
For the evening meal, no,
It-
you're
it,
not.
So
Yes.
this is my compassion for these people.
For which people?
Yeah.
Huh?
For which people?
for homeless people.
Well, and
When
the other thing you need to realize is that the Lord's Diner, all the people who access Lord's Diner are not all homeless. They're people who
I
are
got
living
you.
on the
I
edge.
got you.
So,
I got you.
again, we're painting a broad brush.
No, I'm just trying to make, I'm trying to make a point
Okay,
here.
and your point is,
If you let me finish, my point was, we feed the homeless, that which we, that's compassion, we're feeding them inside a facility. We had a facility at Lord's Diner that we fed them there, and through COVID, that closed. I think you could walk up
Yeah.
and maybe get a meal. But here's my compassion, when you are at Lord's Diner and you're taking them a meal by 4:30, 5 o'clock at night or in the afternoon, and it's 106 degrees, where's the compassion? Is there any communication with Wesley House, with Community Health, the Lord's Diner, maybe opening that facility back up so these people can go in there and maybe cool off for a half hour while they eat their evening meal?
well, we have adjusted the time at Wesley House so that that can happen. They can come into Wesley House and eat, and then we'll close.
Is it recently you've done this?
Well, we did that when they moved, when they went mobile. Yeah.
But why are can you explain me this? About a month ago, and we had this discussion, Dawn, I drove by there because people in the neighborhood
Yeah.
have concerns about their safety as well as the safety of homeless. And I told you, I thought we was in San Francisco, California, what I seen. And I have to say, Wesley House has cleaned up since, well, they're not there, but there's still food containers and stuff that's left. So where do these people go? When Wesley House moved them out, where did they go?
Your guess is as good as mine. That's,
Into neighborhoods.
right. Well,
And-
what do you want? You want us to, you want a shelter, 24/7 shelter?
I'm not saying that, no, I
Well,
didn't say
you
that.
can't have it both ways. You
Well,
can't
if you
blame
provide-
us.
If you provide them a service as, food, take care of them, I
Yeah.
think you maybe look into somehow the people that provide this service can come up with some idea of a shelter for them.
Well, the one thing I know about this whole issue is there's not one answer.
Right.
There's not one
Exactly.
there's not one community in this whole country, our state, or the Midwest, that has found an answer to that. If there had been, I promise you, I think we'd all be modeling ourselves after that. But I think the matter at hand is step one of trying to work through this to make it easier to enforce these sort of things is to pass this ordinance. And I know we can get into a debate about all the input we've had tonight and everything that Chuck and Donna brought up, but I think really, if we could, I would like to move to approve the changes and amendments to
So
this
definitely, I'm
ordinance.
in favor of that. yeah.
Okay, so I'd like to do that, just so we can get that done, and then we know that there's work to be done, maybe on some other ordinances, and, it's a multi-step process, so.
Right.
Step one on tonight, Cheryl?
No, I have a question. Go back to, is this private property only? What you were
If they
talking-
have permission, they can have a tent on private property for
Okay.
only 24 hours.
What
Other than that, without permission on private property, they cannot have a tent
Then
or
you would have a
Okay,
tarp
so-
or,
Do we already have
So
ordinance?
alleys, roadways, and sidewalks,
can't,
you can't?
cannot.
Okay,
So we
that's
just tell them to
perfectly
move on
clear.
if they're there.
Well, you cite
Well,
them,
they'd be cited.
they'd be
What
cited.
good does that do?
Well, then they have a day in court, and they come in and make an appearance, and it's a.
Due
it's
process.
How many appearances can a person make if they don't have any money and they're homeless?
That's a judge thing.
But,
So it's a repeat offense.
Anytime someone is cited for a violation of this ordinance, they will be summoned to court here in city court. If someone doesn't show up, ultimately, a warrant's going to be issued. And when they get picked up somewhere else, the warrant will return them here.
It's not ideal, but it is what the justice system allows for, and everybody has their day in court, and it's each new violation's a new violation, and you have to go back through the due process of it.
And, there are models out there. There's homeless, we've talked about drug court at a district level. There's homeless courts where you wrap services around the individuals and get them housed and get this, get what they need and to hopefully, yeah.
I'm gonna call the
Yeah.
question.
Okay, I think, Stu, did you make a motion?
Yes, I move
Second
to
it.
approve it.
You seconded? Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the ordinance change. sections 46-81 and sections 46-83 of the Pittsburgh City Code to include tents, tarps, and blankets, and any other material being used as a shelter. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed by the same sign. Okay. Item D is
Thanks, Gil.
Community Development Block Grant Agreement.
Hello, Mayor and Commissioners. First of all, I'd like to say that Ron Skripczyk, who's been very involved in this whole project with the Washington School, he's been involved in most aspects of it, and he's unable to be here today. He expresses his regret. So, but I personally am kind of excited to come to you now because the CDBG grant that you approved us to apply for in April, we got the highest amount available. In fact, we got the highest amount that it was in the state. So we were able to get a $750,000 grant. All this is now is just approving the actual grant agreement, which we have to approve before we can get the money. So, and that's what's in front of you today. Any questions about it?
I have a question. I think, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that this grant, the recipients of this grant, 51% of their clients need to be low to moderate income.
That's correct.
So what is our checks and balances on that?
That's part of the reporting process that they have to put in place when they operate the shelter or the daycare. Sorry.
Thanks.
Got me thinking about shelters there.
It's
not a shelter. This is a child care facility. This is
When Ron was here earlier, Jay, and I asked him this, has he narrowed down a daycare provider, and he said he's still working with 4 or 5? Has that number went down, or is he still, he had no idea who?
There's still 3 or 4 of them that we're considering.
Really?
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Move to approve the award, the grant award.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to consider the approval of the staff recommendation to approve a grant agreement between the City of Pittsburgh and the State of Kansas Department of Commerce for Small Cities Community Development Block Grant in the amount of $750,000 to be used toward Washington School LLC Child Care Center to be established at 205 South Locust. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Non-agenda reports and requests?
Just a friendly reminder, the Neighborhood Advisory Council application deadline is September 6th. So if anybody's interested in applying for that, they can apply through Tammy Nagel, our city clerk. And we've had, I'm not totally sure as of today, but at one point we had 5 candidates so far. So we are getting some applicants,
Thank
but you bet.
We have the mayor's memo. I'd like to say a few things. Someone much greater than me said the poor will always be with us. The Lord's Diner, the CHC or Wesley House did not invite people, did not bring people here. The poor were here before, but they weren't being served. No one's dropped any homeless off. We only have we have 112 homeless people. There are 332 in the county itself. The blame game gets us nowhere. So we need to stop that. Nobody's, we shouldn't be blaming anybody for this. This is happening all over the country. We have to deal with the issue. The city is not in the business, in the homeless business. My other little notes here. This takes a caring community, and this community is working on it diligently with other agencies to come up with a solution. The solution has to be formed in short-term and subsequently long-term. We have an opportunity to address this situation, and that's it. The other thing I would like to bring up is trash cans. We see around the city these trash cans out in front of people's homes all the time, and it really doesn't go along with our Spruce Up Pittsburgh. So, this is a thing that we need to work on, getting the trash cans in the back of the house when you're not using them. Or that's what if you have an alley, that's what the alley is for, to get the trash trucks to come down the alley. Thank you.
So Doc, I have a question on that, because I've had people call me on that very same issue. And there's a time frame that those trash cans can be out on the curb.
After the trash guy comes? Is that
Yeah,
what you're asking?
or before he comes or
Yeah,
afterwards.
oh, I see.
Trash should be placed on the curb no earlier than 24 hours before collection day. Must be stored in containers with lids. Household trash must be collected at least once every 7 days.
So here's the issue. People have turned this into see-click fix, and city codes come out, knock on doors. I don't know if they talk to the people, if they're there or not, but the trash can's still there. So does it become a misdemeanor? What do we do then if they don't remove the trash cans? Do we fine them for not removing it, or?
So if City Codes has assessed it, then they would create a case and then go through the proceedings at that point. So they'll follow up, track it, make contact with the owners, usually what we try to do to make sure that they're, if it's a tenant, we usually have to go through the landlord or the property owner and then have them get in touch with the tenant to make sure they're communicating to see if we can get them to cooperate, is the goal.
Thank you.
You bet.
Kim, I have one question before
Sure.
we leave.
Yep.
The ordinance we just passed, it goes into effect immediately upon everybody
Signature?
voting for it?
On publication on.
Once it
we
goes through the
publicate-
newspaper.
We usually put them in on Friday, so it'll be effective on Friday.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, yeah, I have one more thing, Doc. I just want to recognize all our city employees that's out there in the temperature that we've experienced lately. Tell them, thank you for all the hard work you're doing, and try to stay cool if you can, but thank all the employees that have to work out in the heated conditions. I'm done.
To adjourn?
Second, moved and seconded to adjourn. Ladies and gentlemen, we are adjourned.
Bye.